lives just south of Charleston, South Carolina. And he hasn't had a whole lot of time for leisure lately, as he's had to accept some pretty awful shifts to get through the whole COVID craziness. So he's pretty much lost the ability to go on evening walks, which were his stress relief. But he finally gets a small break in his schedule, and he decides to go for a late night walk. And he puts on his headband flashlight and decides to take a path that he hasn't taken in ages. It's a small trail near the back of his neighborhood that goes into the woods about 4 miles. So his plan was to go in about 1.5 miles and then cut over to another path that runs parallel and come back. And Tom makes it down the path about 1.3 miles, according to his Fitbit, when he gets the feeling that he's being watched. And he turns off his headlamp and sits still to listen. At this point, he is far more concerned that it's some guy who's following him who's up to no good. And he hears clear footprints off the trail, and they've been following him for like 5 minutes. And he had been thinking it was either an animal or another walker. But now he starts to think it's not and starts getting nervous. Sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes without hearing anything, he turns his headlight back on and starts walking faster toward home. And about 2 minutes later, he hears the footsteps again. But this time they're different. This time it's like 4 feet instead of 2 feet. And it's walking at the same increased speed as he is. So Tom quickly pulls out his phone and turns on his phone's flashlight. And with his flashlight and his headlight on, he whirls around to try to catch whatever it is that's behind him. Silence. He sees nothing. So now he starts getting angry and he yells, "Leave me alone! I'm going to call the cops, and if you come anywhere near me, I have a knife." Silence. And Tom yells again, "Get out of here!" and starts walking in the direction of where he heard the footsteps. About 20 yards out, Tom sees in his rather lame phone flashlight beam what looks like a literal naked man running at full speed on all fours into the woods. But there are some details that lead him to believe it's not a person. For one, it's damn near hairless, completely bald, pale white skin. And the way it ran on all fours looked natural. Not like when people try to run on all fours and look stupid. It looks like its bone structure is designed to run on all fours. There's no hunched look to it. Its back is flat and it is fast. And the last thing that happens is straight out of a horror movie. Tom starts walking back toward home, and he hasn't heard anything for a little while, but he keeps turning around just to make sure. And with about 4 blocks left to go until he's in the clear, he hears a mad dash in the leaves behind him. And Tom whips around, and it stops on a dime. And he sees the edges of its head behind a tree. And he yells out again to try to intimidate it or scare it off. And what he hears next, he will never forget for the rest of his life. It cackled like a monkey, a noise he's literally only heard in nature documentaries. And the tone was that of mockery, like a predator having fun with him. Tom didn't stick around. He sprinted as fast as he could back home. And Tom would love to believe that this is some kind of prank, like some bald disease coyote. But he got a pretty clear look at it. And it wasn't. It had human feet and human hands, a human head, and a human butt. But nothing else about it was human. Tom called the cops when he got home and told them that a man was following him. He didn't want to tell the cops that it was some creature because he knew the cops would think he was crazy. And the cops came out and searched the area Tom told them where he was. And no surprise, the cops couldn't find anything. And if you want more creepy crawler adventures, you gotta click right here. And we will see you again on the In-Between.